Hello and welcome back. Now, as you can see, we have the 82 back, and that's just temporarily because the owner wants one thing done with it, then he wants to get rid of it. Now, we have done a lot of work to this truck since he's gotten it. That's on and off camera. There's a lot of issues with overheating, vapor lock, timing issues, all that stuff that we went back over and fixed with this thing. And now the last thing we are going to do with this, now that he decided to get rid of it, we're going to put a new dash in. Now this dash we got from Summit Racing. It's a brand new full dash. There's one dash pad cover or anything like that on it, so we're just going to put a new dash. It's pretty simple and easy to do, but we're going to get started on it. Now as you can see, the dash is pretty rough. It's cracked. Someone cut that out. Now it had one of these covers over it. We're going to put a new dash in there. It's going to be pretty simple and easy to do. First thing we're going to do is right up under here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 screws on this side to remove. And the other side has a clips that is back under the dash. It should pop out. We'll reuse those clips. Now sometimes the screws that are running through here are through the dash, but in this case, at least on that side. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and remove the 2 screws here in the dash, and we'll be able to pull up and forward. I have to wiggle it on that side a little bit. And we are out. Now, these little clips that are in the corners for this don't come with the new dash, so you'll want to go ahead and remove them from the old dash so you can use them on the new dash. Alright, now is the time to transfer the trim and the vents over to the new dash. Now, I have a few nuts on the back side to remove. That'll remove the trim and the vents. And then you can see a few spots already set up for the old trim, and all we have to do, take a little drill bit and very carefully go through and knock that hole out, so we can go ahead and put the trim on. Now we have the trim on. Now you can use a razor blade and trim those holes out for the trim to go in, but keep in mind the reason why I use the drill is because on these aftermarket dashes, the holes don't always line up, so sometimes you have to drill out the hole and enlarge it or move it in order to actually get the factory trim to sit inside the aftermarket dash like I did here. A few of the holes didn't line up, so I actually had to drill out the holes a little bit bigger for it to all line up. Now the next thing are these clips. And what I do, I take a flathead on the back side and get that up and twist it and remove it. Now the new dash is slightly made a little different, so I'm going to just very carefully move that back just a little bit, just enough so I can get that in there and make sure it sticks. Now the reason I'm having to pry these back a little bit is because where they're at, some of these are capable of going in as is. Like that one. The first one did not, so I had to pry that just a little bit. Then all you gotta do is just take your flathead, push it that way, and it'll tighten it up in there. Like so. At least it works for me that way. See, now that first one's really tight, this one's a little bit loose, but that's what happens when you go aftermarket. Of course, finding an original dash in extremely good shape is extremely hard to find, so you just basically got to go with what you get. Now there's one thing left to do this dash while we got it out, and it's, as I stated earlier, we're going to reuse these clips. Now there's a huge downfall with this aftermarket dash. As a factory one, we have a lot of metal up in here. This is all plastic or polyurethane, whatever this one was made out of, I forget. But that's where our clip goes into. It's actually got a provision for it. But all that holds it on is this material. There is no metal behind it. So unfortunately, I'm not sure how well it's going to hold our dash in place. In fact, putting that clip on, it's already moved that. So we're going to just see what we can do from here in order to strengthen it. Now we started by putting the vent at the far end actually in first to make this easier. Loosen the dash off a little bit so we can get this started and kind of tuck it in a little bit. Now we're going to take our time and go in and get the clips to set in where they should, and get this dash down where it's supposed to be. Now, the edges here are causing a little bit of an issue, so there's a trim issue there. But overall, it's still a pretty decent fit. And it sure does look better than that old nasty looking cracked up one. So as long as this one's well taken care of, it should last a while. I'm just going to try to make sure everything's tucked in where it should be. And hopefully that'll be it. Now on that side, I got to tuck it in a little bit by the door around the rubber. And then we should be set to go ahead, put our screws back in the dash. Screws back up here to hold this part of the dash down. Hopefully they stay. I'm kind of afraid they may not, due to how simple and easy they moved. And then with the four down here, they're actually, this part of the dash is metal. So that should hold well. This part right here, there is some metal reinforcement on top. There just wasn't any around here where we really needed it in order to keep this where we want it. So we tuck that in, make sure the clips are pushed in, tighten it down, and we should be good to go. Now we got it in. We actually got that to hold fairly well. It doesn't come all the way down like the stock one did in there. It's a little short, but we'll think it'll be alright. I think this dash will work pretty well as long as those clip spots are in the right spot and they don't pop out later. I didn't actually measure to see if they were exactly as factory was, so hopefully they are, and this won't go anywhere. Alright, now there you have it. The dash is installed. It's pretty easy. It's just a bunch of small tedious stuff that you have to watch out for, especially with an aftermarket dash. Now the aftermarket dash obviously isn't 100% perfect fitment for this truck, and maybe for others depending on how the new dash is made. And at this point in time anymore, finding a good, perfect original dash is getting extremely hard to do, and sometimes when you do, it's just cheaper to go ahead and just buy a new one at that point. But the only thing is, sometimes there's some excess trimming you have to do with the excess on the edge and stuff like that. And once you get everything done where you want it, usually fits in there pretty decently, at least. Almost unnoticeable, so take your time and do it right the first time, it'll look good. Now hopefully this video proved helpful to you, and as always, thanks for watching.